calculus class. This is notes over 4-1. I uploaded them using this program called Explain Everything, and unfortunately it messed with our format a little bit, so you'll have to make sure you keep a good eye on your notes as well as what I'm doing to keep track. This is the second time I'm trying it. The first time it didn't work, so I'm going to do an expedited version here to hopefully get you your notes for the weekend. Here's some of the examples of the formatting that's going to be messed up. Things are just going to be in the wrong place, like shifted over a little bit. Go ahead and answer questions 1 through 10 to the best of your ability. Push pause on this while you do that. Just thinking about functions in terms of composite of more than one function put together. We really need to do that when we're talking about the derivatives of composite functions so that we can see the inside and the outside of each of them. Here's your answers. Alright, let's get started. Here's what we're talking about today. Mainly the outside-inside rule according to derivatives of composite functions. The chain rule says this: if you're trying to take the derivative of two functions, one composed with the other, then you do the derivative of the outside function evaluated at the inside function, and then you multiply that by the derivative of the inside function. If you skip that first example and look at it in terms of this, it's talking about it in terms of the outside-inside rule. So if you differentiate the outside function and evaluate it at the inside function, left alone, and then you multiply by the derivative of that inside function. Here's our first example of using the inside-outside rule. So we have two functions here, cosine function and the 3x to the fourth minus 2. The outside function being the cosine function. So the derivative of the cosine function is negative sine, and then I evaluate that at my inside function. But then I need to multiply that by the derivative of the inside function, 12x to the third. So my final answer here, negative 12x to the third times the sine of 3x to the fourth minus 2. I'm going to skip this example for now. Of these examples, just using my inside-outside rule. So as you look at them, think about what's the outside and what's the inside. Let's start with this first one. So my outside function here is this something squared. So using my power rule, I bring that 2 down and then raise it to the first power. But then I need to multiply it by the derivative of that inside, 6x. So my answer, 2 times 6 is 12, 12x times the quantity 3x squared plus 1. Potentially we could write that if we wanted to distribute as 36x to the third plus 12x. Let's do this one as well. So we have outside function of the sine, derivative of sine is cosine. Evaluate that at the inside function. Now I multiply by the derivative of the inside function, 2x plus 1. You have a couple more to do here, so work on those two. Push pause on here, find the derivatives of them. And then here are 4 more examples. Together, let's do this one first. I have to use my product rule here as well as my chain rule. So taking the derivative of this, I have my first times the derivative of the second. That's negative sine of pi minus 4t. But now I need to multiply by the derivative of that inside. Pi goes to 0, so negative 4. Plus, continuing to use the product rule, the second cosine of pi minus 4t times the derivative of the first, which is just 1. So let's see if we can rearrange that a little bit. I have two negatives and a 4t, so that's a positive 4t, times the sine of pi minus 4t, plus the cosine of pi minus 4t. And let's do this one. On this one, my outside function is actually the power function, even though it's written differently with trig functions. So my outside function here is that negative 5. So I use my power rule. But then don't forget to multiply by the derivative of that sine function, so cosine of x. Minus, my outside function is the 3. Power rule says raise it to the second power, but then multiply it by the derivative of that cosine, so negative sine of x. Simplifying just a little bit, negative 5 times the cosine of x times the sine, and we'd probably write it like this, of x to the negative 6th power. Two negatives here make a positive 3 cosine squared of x times the sine of x. I'm excited to see you try this one. This one has lots of different functions put together, so I'm not going to do it, but I'm just going to kind of point out a few of the functions. So we have something cubed, then we have cosine squared, then we have cosine, then you have 7x. So lots of different functions here. You do the derivative of the outside at the inside function, and then you multiply it by the derivative of the inside for each of those inside functions. Go ahead and push pause and work on one. Then you can write down your homework. See me if you have any questions, and have a great weekend.